Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Monday, July 5th. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Orr. The Minnesota game is in 59 days. The game against Michigan in 145 days. Ohio State got a little news on Sunday, as you may have heard if you were anywhere close to the internet. JT Tuimoloau, the five-star defensive end from Washington, who has been the subject of a few dozen recent episodes of this podcast, officially committed to the Buckeyes. Hey, that worked out well. This was a culmination of one of the more unusual recruitments we've seen. This morning, I wanted to bring on one of the guys who has been giving Buckeye Scoop members an inside look at exactly what's been happening all along the way. He is Buckeye Scoop's ultimate insider, Nevada Buck. Nevada, back in January, you posted on our message board, you put JT Tuimoloau equals Buckeye. And for people who are familiar with Nevada Buckeyes, that is very decisive. JT Tuimoloau will be a Buckeye. So what were you hearing at that point that made you so sure that that was really going to be how that all played out?
Well, I had a source. I had a guy that is kind of in the orbit of JT, and it's a guy that I kind of developed a relationship with over the past few years. And he'd been telling me about this kid up in Washington that was going to be a big timer, and we kind of stayed in contact. And in September, October, he started talking, about things and about, sincere level of interest, October, November, more so. And then come December, January, he kind of laid out for me what I'm referring to as the plan, and kind of how this thing was going to work, and how it was going to go, and how it would go beyond signing day, and when, when he would take visits, approximately, not exact dates and things like that, who he'd be going to see, and ultimately where he was going to go. And what I'll say is it never deviated from the plan. It followed the plan, almost. He didn't predict that he wouldn't take the damage. I was genuinely surprised when I saw that. But, he kind of laid out the plan, and it kind of followed the plan. And it was beautiful to see it all come together. And it was fun to kind of share that journey with the members on Buckeye Scoop.
Well, I think if you look kind of around the internet, there were a lot of people that were kind of hedging on a lot of this stuff. And, it was kind of like, well, this is sort of how this might play out. And I think that was probably a result of the fact that this was just a recruitment that was about as close to the vest as any in recent history. Like the player himself was really just talking to one reporter. You weren't, he wasn't doing interviews with anyone other than Brandon Huffman. And, then you had a bunch of really great intel throughout that process. I mean, you were the first to report the details on when he was coming to Ohio State, how long he was staying, where he was going next. I mean, this is not like, oh, that was a lucky guess. Like, that was real specific stuff that played out exactly the way you had told our members it would. And then during his visit a couple weeks ago, you had a really interesting report about the role that basketball could play in landing him. And then, can you explain that? Because I think that was something else that I think a lot of people who aren't Buckeye Scoop members may have heard about yesterday for the first time when he posted the graphic. And there was just, there was a picture of him with, an Ohio State basketball uniform on, and they might have gone, what is this all about? The Buckeye Scoop members heard about this a few weeks ago, but let the folks who maybe aren't members know, about the role of basketball in his recruitment.
Yeah, well, he's quite a basketball player, and JT loves basketball. It's probably his first love. And when he came out to Ohio State, he had let it be known that he had a sincere interest in playing basketball at the collegiate level. And, Dave had listened to that and really taken that seriously, and had set him up with Chris Holtman and the entire staff. And they put on an entire basketball presentation for him, and said that he would have a spot on the team if he so desired to play major college basketball. And it looks like when he comes here, now how long, he'll stick with that, we'll see. But do not be surprised to see him when football season's over, rolling out there on the hardwood, because he loves basketball. He's got a spot on the Buckeyes team. They had pictures of him in the uniform, and he's really excited about that. And that was not definitive by any measure, but it just showed the level of listening and closeness that Ryan Day had on this. And it started from that moment when he got off the plane. And my contact had called me immediately afterwards, and he said that the visit was a home run. The visit was everything that they thought it would be, and it started from the moment he set off the plane, and the entire staff was there, and those Tommy Bahama shirts, and you just saw the genuine affection between JT and the Ohio State staff, and he knew he was home. He knew that's where he wanted to be. Couldn't wait to get back to the West Coast. Took that trip to Oregon because it was on the way back home, but couldn't stand the thought of getting on another plane and head to Alabama because he knew he was going to Ohio State, and that's good news for the Buckeyes.
Well, that visit to Columbus was really unique, and I mean, he was in town longer than normal. You mentioned the coaches all going to the airport. The fact that we were there at the airport, Kirk Barton's there live streaming this whole thing, and I mean, this was a recruitment that in so many different ways was completely different than any others. Not only how it played out, but also that it played out. Part of it played out right in front of everyone watching. And then after that was done, Oregon fans couldn't wait to tell you how hokey that all was. But I mean, how big a deal was that ultimately? Like all the coaches showing up and those matching shirts, and just in ultimately making him confident that Ohio State was the place for him. How big was that part of that process and really sealing the deal for them?
Well, I think it was big. I think all those things. For him, he'd always wanted to be a Buckeye. He'd always wanted to be a Buckeye. He'd always wanted to play for Ryan Day. He'd always wanted to play with his two best friends from Washington. He always wanted to set up with Jack Sawyer, but he didn't know when he was going to go on the campus if he had that feeling. And that's why everybody was upset about how long he was taking. But he needed to visit. He needed to visit, and he needed to have that feeling. And when he saw that, and he got there. And he saw that type of commitment from the staff, because that is rare. I've been doing this for 20 plus years, never seen that. Lots of reasons why you never see that. We've talked about them before, about how tough it is when you have multiple recruits or game weekends or whatever it is. But I've never seen that. And the fact that everybody got to view that, and if you haven't viewed it, again, go back and watch that video. I mean, it's something else. And it really, I really believe that is the moment that he decided that it was like he was in. When you saw Ryan Day, when they had that hug, and that was not just a little hug built up. I mean, that was a warm embrace. I think that was the moment that it all came together, and he knew at that point. And when he left, Ohio State wanted us to be there when he got there. They wanted to make a big deal, but when he left, they didn't want anybody there. They just wanted him to get going because they knew they had the order. And Ohio State, is real excited because that's a big pickup for them, and it's going to be fun watching them the next few years for sure.
You mentioned after he left Ohio State, he goes to Oregon. After that Oregon visit ended, the Alabama visit got canceled. You posted two things that ruffled a lot of feathers, so to speak, with Oregon fans. See what I did there? One was that the Oregon visit really didn't go all that well. Other one was that Tuimoloau was 100% going to Ohio State. And I mean, no hedging, no mid-level confidence level on a crystal ball, no Oregon's still a threat. It was 100% a done deal to Ohio State. That is a level of confidence that sets you up to really, really look like a fool if you are incorrect, because 100% means 100%. So how were you so confident in your information at that point when it seemed like everyone else was kind of like, well, probably?
It was a combination of factors, a combination of multiple sources all tell me the same thing. And, when I heard it from the Oregon coach that they didn't think the visit was all that. And it's hard to have a bad official visit, but it was just kind of like, it was, it seemed like he was just wanted to get through the visit. Then you knew something was up there. And then when I talked to my primary source, and he just said, it's done. It's done. It's just cemented. It's just all done. And he'd been right about everything else up to that point. I knew that it was safe to go in. And at that point, it was just a matter of waiting for the announcement and this little edit gate angst and people, I'm not sure where he's going. No, it was done. Kids like that, when they have a decision date, and they know they're going to be cancel the Bama. If you're not sure, you don't cancel the Bama visit. You go to Bama. And when he did that, and I'd heard everything made sense. And at that point, it just it all come together. And like I said, it's if you have the right source on this information, and sometimes you get the wrong source, and sometimes you get fooled. But if you have the right source, it can sure make this stuff a lot easier for sure.
Well, the Tuimoloau story is not the first big news you've broken in your career as a Nevada Buck, but even before that was officially in the win column for you, you put the equal sign on another top target this weekend, meaning he will be a Buckeye. Hasn't happened yet, but it will. This is the kind of information we typically keep to our members on the Ask the Insiders board, but Nevada's in a good mood. Nevada's in a giving mood this weekend, so we'll give you a little extra right now. You broke the news on JT Tuimoloau 6 months ago on the Ask the Insiders board, and then this weekend you let people know someone else who's going to be joining the program very soon. Who'd you throw the equal sign on this weekend?
Well, there's a top wide receiver out of Georgia, Kojo Antwi, that's announcing tomorrow, and that's going to be more good news for Ohio State, and that's going to be more magic by Brian Hartline, and another great get for the program, and just another body in a loaded room that's just about to get more loaded. So it's as exciting as today was. There's more excitement on the horizon for tomorrow. So buckle up.
Yeah. So the Kojo Antwi commitment will happen on Monday. Back on Sunday, you gave away 4 tickets to the Oregon game. That's something people who have been listening to this podcast all month have heard me talk about a whole bunch of times. And yes, it really did happen. 4 tickets to the Oregon game. But when you did it, something very cool happened. This was not quite, I saw the post and I was like, oh, I wonder who won. I clicked in the post and it was like, oh, that's a very different story than I expected. So let people know what happened when you gave away your Oregon tickets.
Well, we have a really special community, and we talked about the Scoop family, and if you haven't been a part of our board, or I should say, if you are a part of our board, you know what I'm talking about. It's a really high quality group of people. It's unlike any board I've ever been a part of, and like I said, I've been doing this for a very, very long time. It's just a really special, kind group of people, and we had a poster, Joker Buck. It's his username, who won the tickets. And when we contacted him about the tickets, he goes, you know what? Give them to a service member because I just want to thank them for their service to our country, and God bless America on this Independence Day. So we're going to have a couple of special operators and their wives that are going to come to the game against Oregon, courtesy of Joker Buck, who really represents the best of the Scoop family, and that was a really, really special gesture.
Yeah, that was on a day that was full of a lot of excitement and emotion on the Ask the Insiders board. That was a pretty cool thing to see happen. So whenever I have Mark on or Kirk on or Nevada on, I always say, okay, well, let people know why they should be a member. Well, you get to be a part of a fun community like that does cool things and supports each other. Also, you do know stuff before it happens. That should be, if you have not picked up the theme of today's show, it is if you listen to Nevada, sometimes you know stuff way before it happens. So there are people who just turn on the first game of the season and find out who's starting then, or who are these new freshmen, and if that's you, that's totally fine. We are not here to pass judgment on different types of fandom, but if you are the type of person who wants to be in the loop before news breaks, not after, you need to be a member of Buckeye Scoop. We just give you a taste of the kind of information you can find on our Ask the Insiders board. I suspect that will not be the last time you give tickets away to a member. I mean, I think this seems like something that breaking news before it happens. Prizes, cool benefits to becoming a Buckeye Scoop member. This seems like stuff that's probably going to happen again at some point in the near future. So this might be a great time to be a member of BuckeyeScoop.com. Turns out over the last year, I don't think there has been a particularly bad time to be a member of BuckeyeScoop.com. So might want to just go ahead and sign up today. We have a bunch of more stuff coming up this month as we head into Big Ten Media Days in just a couple weeks. More recruiting stuff, I'm sure, coming down the pipeline. Another big commitment potentially coming on Monday. We just told you all about that. But lots more exciting stuff to come. And boy, the Ohio State Oregon game sure looks a little more interesting than it did 24 hours ago. And that is coming up in just over 2 months. So lots of exciting stuff coming up at BuckeyeScoop.com. Just sign up today to become a member. You get access to our fantastic team of insiders and all that other great stuff that we talked about earlier. Also, youtube.com/BuckeyeScoop. youtube.com/BuckeyeScoop. Tons of great content there. All of our podcasts. We threw up an instant reaction podcast with Tony Garderman and I talking about the JT Tuimoloau commitment on Sunday afternoon as soon as the commitment happened. Mark Givler and I did a special bonus episode of The Morning Scoop that was on the YouTube channel. Lots of great information there. You can get all of our Mark is just coming back from the opening. We'll have him on one of the shows later on this week to talk about what he saw of Quinn Ewers at the Elite 11 and the opening, but lots of video from him, and Nevada was there as well. Lots of great content from there all weekend. It is all youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. Just hit subscribe and you'll get notified every time we post a new video. There's a ton of great content there. And we keep picking up subscribers because it turns out people like that content. Crazy. And it's all free. youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. Just hit subscribe and you'll get that notified every time we post a new video. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.